What's up, everybody? Welcome to the AP Cast. I'm your host, Phil Robinson. With me is Alex Monfreda, the homie, my partner. What's going on, man, over there in the rain?
It's happening, Phil. Hey, schedule just came out. Raiders this week, man. Happy, hyped. Gonna be good.
No, for sure. Now, we might have got back to you guys a little bit. I apologize. I've had a ton of things going on. But now we are able to, my schedule has calmed down for a minute. We're going to get back to silver and black and kicking it to you and letting you know we got a whole bunch of stuff that we can get into. We were supposed to do a whole show on the whole K. Drake beef all the way until we discovered that he was not like us.
Until there was no beef anymore. Just like
there's no beef anymore. Wave the white flag. It's over.
That's all you can do, man. That's all you can do.
Just please make it stop. Still no more. But let's get into this. Let's play the schedule game real quick so that after the schedule game, we can get into OTAs, the spring ball, and share some optimism with everybody here. So the very first game of the season, as luck would have it, it entails a trip to Los Angeles to play Jim Harbaugh and the Los Angeles Chargers in their first game return to the NFL and SoFi Stadium, where strange things seem to happen to the Raiders once they show up.
Yeah, man. I've said this in the past. I specifically remember saying this about the Colts game last year, and I was just flat out wrong. But I see no way the Raiders lose this game. I see no way. Again, I said this about the Colts game last year. Embarrassing loss, and I was just left amazed. I don't know how they dropped that game. But I'm going to say it again. I see no way the Raiders lose this game. I don't. The Raiders are the better team. I don't care about that. Jim Harbaugh, first time back in the NFL in a decade. I don't. There's too much going on. I know that it's not really boding well. You know, it's only like day 3 of OTA, so it doesn't mean anything. But the whole Jim Harbaugh stopping the music, stopping the vibe, it doesn't seem like things are going smoothly. Again, it's just 3 days of OTA. It doesn't mean anything at all. But it just feels like the Raiders already got something going on that's established. They're the better team on paper, certainly, both offense and defense. They have something established already. The vibes are vibing, and Jim Harbaugh, first time back in the NFL in a decade. I don't see any way the Raiders lose the game.
Now, see, it's funny because I actually see it the complete opposite way, and usually we're lockstep, but I don't see how the NFL is going to allow the Raiders to win this game. We've seen weather delays for a dome because of lightning storm on a Monday night football game. We've seen a bunch of crazy things happen inside Los Angeles, especially when there's quote unquote a majority in the stadium of Raider fans. And the way that this series usually breaks down is that the home team usually comes out on top, and this time it's going to be the Chargers. And I wish that it wasn't so, but I have full faith and confidence that somehow something wacky is going to happen at the end, and somehow the Chargers are going to pull one out and give the Raiders a loss. Harbaugh wins so that
difficulties. I think Harbaugh might have fell off the show about the league plan.
And I just think the NFL is going to want to celebrate the return of the national championship winning Jim Harbaugh and feature him as one of the true sons of football, one of football's first families. You know, you had the Mannings, now you got the Harbaughs, and it's how it. I can see it, I can smell it. It's that nasty, tired old rank storyline that the NFL pushes year after year. But you know what it is.
I mean, yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know if I can see it going down that way, but if it happens like that, you're gonna be the one that called it, man. You are going to 100% one.
Something hokey, Wad. Something hokey. But week 2, we have the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore, because why not open up the season with 2 games on the road, one on opposite coasts?
Yeah, this is the Harbaugh to Harbaugh, one after another at their stadium. I said I don't see any way the Raiders lose week 1. I don't see any way the Raiders win week 2. We'll leave it at that.
It looks like an attempt to try to knock the Raiders down the peg right off the bat out of the game. The Chargers' offensive line is massive, and the Ravens do what the Ravens do. Now, they're catching them early in the season, which could be a good thing. It could also be a very bad thing. But I would say that it's probably better to catch Baltimore earlier than in the year than later, especially given the way they played last season. And is that going to result in a W? Probably not. I don't see them winning that game either. But then our fortunes will change. We get young Bryce and the Carolina Panthers coming in to Las Vegas for the home opener in week 3. What are your thoughts on this particular game?
So I absolutely love what the Panthers did this offseason. I think the new management did as much for Bryce Young as they possibly could have done, given what they're given. You know, no first-round pick. Nobody really wants to come to the Carolinas. That's a big-name free agent. I mean, the franchise historically is horrible. It's a new franchise, you know, just 20 years old. But a little over 20 years. But, you know, anyway, I think in saying that, Raiders at home, their home opener, it's all going to depend on what happens the first 2 games, right? If the Raiders are 1-1, I think they're going to come in and it's going to be just fine. They're 0-2. They dropped the Chargers game, like you say, like you're thinking, and they dropped the Ravens game, which I think they're going to do. Maybe things are a little odd, and it's possible that they're thrown off and they're scrambling, you know, to try to get something to work in a hurry. But other than that, this should be a Raiders win.
I agree. I think that while Carolina made some outstanding additions to their ball club in order to help out Bryce Young, it's not going to be enough. And it's enough to make them competitive, but I believe that they are well overpowered in this particular game, and the Raiders should come out on top. Otherwise, we're starting to have some real questions to be answered. Now, the first two weeks, I would expect. Week 3, we would have some issues. But because they spent the first 2 weeks on the road, they get 2 weeks at home, and following it up in week 4, they have the Cleveland Browns in Allegiant Stadium, 125. I'm guessing that is a Sunday. Of course, it's a Sunday.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, the Browns defense, Myles Garrett, obviously Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, he's played all pro level football since day one in the NFL. The defense as a whole is great. They almost mirror the Raiders when you really think about it, because the Raiders last year, especially, defensive team, Myles Garrett, Max Crosby. So it's that sort of thing, and then no quarterback, of course. They have all that quarterback trouble. They're carouseling, and the Raiders aren't carouseling yet, but you can kind of see it's probably going to trend that way. You don't know if it's going to be Aiden O'Connell. You don't know if it's going to be Gardner Minshew. Either way, we're talking like top 25 QB best case scenario from either of them. That's a toss up. I'm going to remain very open-minded and just I gave the Chargers a loss week 1, the Raiders that win. I'll say that Cleveland comes away with Q2 point.
You said they're coming away with a win?
Cleveland, I believe that with the schedule, there's going to be a lot of instances where I see the best in the Raiders, and I'm going to combat that by giving Cleveland the win.
It was really thoughtful, really insightful, but you're wrong. Raiders take this game 2 at home. This is a game that they can win. The quarterback situation is not settled to me at all. And at one point, I thought that Deshaun Watson was the answer, and now I'm inherently grateful that Cleveland bit that bullet instead of us. Even with our current quarterback situation being what it is, until Deshaun Watson snaps out of his funk and looks like the guy who was tearing it up in Houston, they have big questions with having a brain fart. Wow, gotta love getting old. But with Joe Flacco leaving, all of their passing offense walked out the door too. DTR is still unproven largely, and you've got you believe you called it a carousel of quarterbacks, all of whom are up at this current point not very good.
Yeah, they do have Jameis Winston. They do have Tyler Huntley. Huntley was a Pro Bowler. Jameis Winston is Jameis Winston has all the talent in the world, but that means nothing when you play like Jameis Winston plays. But I don't. They're so comparable. The Raiders and the Browns. To me, they're almost everything you say about the Browns, you say right back to the Raiders and vice versa. I mean, even I believe AP is a great coach. You believe that, and Browns coach, 2-time coach of the year, fantastic coach. I mean, he trumps AP in every way up to this point. AP on half the season, but they're so evenly matched, and I'm just gonna remain a little off the I cover the Raiders. They win. I'm gonna give this.
Well, you know what, Alex? Let me just tell you on behalf of the people that aren't in the chat room, nobody cares. Next week, week 5 in Denver. Sean Payton, Bo Nix, whoever's at wide receiver, whoever's at running back. Gotta tell you, I see the streak continuing.
Oh my! I don't know if there's a single thing Denver is better than Vegas at. I don't know if there's a single thing, unit, coach, you name it, really, that they're even in the same universe as. I mean, quarterback maybe, because the Raiders quarterbacks are not great. But I mean, even then, are they better than Bo Nix? Let's be fair to Bo Nix. Maybe this guy comes and he's a Pro Bowler. We don't know. He hasn't played a snap in the NFL yet. But because he hasn't played a snap in the NFL yet, you got to imagine by week 5, he's not up to par yet. I mean, Raiders, it has to be the Raiders that win this.
Yeah, I agree. Let's move on and continue to one of the most expensive games in the NFL season.
Number 1, right?
Steelers in Las Vegas. So the throwback to one of the original rivalries, great rivalries of all time. Now, Ben Roethlisberger is no longer here, and I don't believe the Steelers have been back since he left, right?
No, they haven't.
Because Ben Roethlisberger never beat the Raiders in Oakland, and he didn't beat them in Vegas either.
True.
And Russell Wilson and Justin Fields are not going to start either. Raiders are now on a rather impressive win streak of 4 games after going 0-2. So the first 2 games of the season are tough. The rest of them get very winnable until we start hitting just after week 7. Because week 7 is against the Rams. And I feel I got a mixed bag against the Rams. Offensively, they got the pieces to be good. I like their running back. Matt Stafford is still showing that he can play at a high level. I'm not gonna say that's not a high level because they're still in the hunt. You got Cooper Kupp, Puka Nakua, and whoever else they got. But between those 2 receivers and Gerald Everett, you got and the running back Warren, you got a pretty formidable offensive unit there.
Yeah, I mean the Rams, Sean McVay, great coach. Matt Stafford played like a top 10 quarterback last year. Before his injury, everybody thought he was pretty much a set in stone top 10 quarterback. Still might be. Great wide receiver duo. Kyron Williams is going to miss a bit of the year. I don't think he's even going to come back at this point. I believe they added a running back either through the draft or free agency, which is pretty darn. I can't remember. Their defense overachieved last year and has only gotten better on paper, but you can't ignore the elephant in the room. Arguably the best player in the entire league at any position is no longer on the Rams roster, and that is a massive win for the Raiders.
I don't know how you could consider that defense getting better having lost that guy.
That's true. I was really thinking secondary.
I mean, it sounded good. I was almost ready to go there with you and be like, did they really get better? And I was like, wait a minute. Aaron Donald retired. What the fuck is this guy talking about? Man, shut up. Yeah, it's just right over there in the dark. You're over there with these fuzzy takes. The brain must be fucking with your system and your receptors.
No, you're absolutely right with that.
Crack is whack. Moving right along. Oh, no, we didn't make a prediction there. So this is actually a toss-up game for me. It's one that I picked the Rams to win.
Is it in LA?
Yes.
Oh, it's a toss-up for me too. And I think that, man, the Raiders have all the momentum in this game. As we've seen in the past, we haven't seen it with Antonio Pierce yet. As we've seen in the past, the Raiders, almost the same core, haven't really handled win streak too well. You can blame Josh McDaniels for that. You can blame John Gruden for that. You can blame whoever was in the middle. Bisaccia. Actually, they were kind of good with Bisaccia for that. But I don't know, man. I'll give it to the Rams too.
Sitting at a robust 4-3. Bringing up the showdown. Las Vegas once more, week 8. 1:25 p.m. The Kansas City defending world champion Chiefs on the field they won the Super Bowl at, locking horns with the Raiders.
Yep.
That should be a good one. That's going to be an ugly, nasty, physical game because the Chiefs are going to want retribution of what happened last year. And Raiders are going to be ready with that faith to give them all they can handle and a little bit more. And yes, the Chiefs got a bunch of fast receivers to get out there so that they can take full advantage of Patrick Mahomes' rocket arm. Yes, we all know that. But this pass rush is ready and looking very, very mean, or poised to be looking very mean by week 8. With Tyree being healthy, Malcolm being on the level that he is, Max doing Max-like things, Christian Wilkins is going to be a player to watch here pay absolute dividends. Because if he can get a rush, if he can collapse the pocket and perhaps force him and Tyree can work together in forcing Mahomes into Max and Malcolm, this stands to be a very, very winnable game for the Raiders.
Yeah, I actually think the Raiders are going to win this game. This is the first 8 weeks of the season. This is normally the Chiefs, especially with all the moving parts that they have now, the new parts rather. This is normally we're still figuring it out before we get it all figured out and we go on that run-in with, late in the season and into the playoffs. So this is still kind of in that time frame. I do like the Raiders winning this game, and if they do lose versus the Rams, hot streak, loss versus Rams, they're probably thinking, we got to get back into this. We know how Antonio Pierce is. He's a player's coach. He's a guy that's going to infectious energy. He's probably going to be pissed. They lose to the Rams. We both have them losing that game. They bounce back and beat them.
5-3 and on to Cincinnati. Paycor Stadium. Week 9. The Raiders versus the Bengals. All you, buddy. I'm going to let you start this one off.
All right, I'm going to say what a lot of people are probably thinking when they think of this matchup. Joe Burrow going to be out. You don't know. If anything, it might be trending towards he won't be. And that is going to be the deciding factor, in my opinion. I don't even know if that will be the deciding factor, because it feels like when Raiders have to go up against these backups suddenly, they always don't prepare, or they're just not ready for it. They didn't study the right film or whatever. I'm going to go with Cincinnati either way.
Oh, I'll slap you for that. The Raiders are winning this game, and I'll tell you exactly why. For the exact reason that you stated, except for the reciprocal of that, because all of the people that are supposedly the NFL aficionados, the experts, the people that the hyperbolists and those who would, the detractors from AP would tell you that he's only capable of beating a backup quarterback. And by week 9, do you really honestly expect Joe Burrow to be up and playing for the Bengals? I mean, didn't almost everybody who was a skill position player has to be traded this year?
But Cincy?
Yeah. No Mixon. T. Higgins asked for a trade. Trey Hendrickson asked for a trade. Hell, if Joe Burrow wasn't coming off injury, he'd probably ask for a trade. And if Jamar Chase had just got his money, he'd be asking for a trade.
It's bad.
I don't know what has happened, but it looks like it's poised to be one of those spectacular flameouts, whether Burrow plays or he doesn't. Your thoughts?
I can see it going down like that for sure. I think it's going to be. Remember, I have them beating the Chiefs, and I think they're going to be high in the clouds. It's going to come quick, very Cincy can be explosive offensively. And assuming Trey Hendrickson stays, but they have pretty solid defense. They got Von Bell back too. I'm a big Von Bell fan. Great safety. Feels like just as I feel the Raiders are going to sneak up on the Chiefs and take that, I feel the Bengals are going to take advantage of the Raiders with that. That's pretty much where I'm at with that.
So what's your record so far?
I have one more loss than you do for the season.
That would now be 2.
No, it would be that. I had beating the Chargers but losing to the Browns, and you had the reverse canceled out.
That's right. That's right. Well, I have them winning this game, which puts us at a robust 6-4, I believe. 2, 3, 6, and 3. Yeah, no, 6-4. Yeah, that's right. 6-4 headed into the bye. That's what I got, and you have 5-5.
5-5, I guess. Yeah.
Now, so week 11, Miami on a Sunday morning. At least for me, anyway. It'll be 1 o'clock. It'll be 1 o'clock for you guys out there. But nobody cares.
This is where I get.
This game is another toss-up for me, and the reason being is because I don't know which version Miami you're going to get. Is everybody going to be healthy? They're the speedsters that are tearing a blaze in the field all over the place. Tua lost weight this year so that he could gain some of that mobility back. And I understand why he put the weight on. Lamar Jackson did virtually the same thing as well. And both of those guys ended up going back in the offseason and losing the weight so that they could do the opposite of what Josh Jacobs did, which was get caught from behind and be dragging Witten through the hole.
Yeah, pretty much.
But we're not gonna slander Josh here. That was just a joke. But but this was a game that they should have won last year. They should have won that game. I understand why they didn't, and I think that they will probably win this game.
Oh man, I like what you said that they should have won this game last year, because I don't know how much better Miami got from last year, and I know the Raiders got a lot better from last year. So I like what you said there, but it's still the unescapable fact that you're playing Tyreek Hill, you're playing Jalen Watt, you're playing Javon Holland on defense.
Don't forget about OBJ.
Oh, true. OBJ. They had two running backs, Mostert and who the hell's the rookie they had last year that tore it up? Achane. And they went
who couldn't cut it against the defense, who got hit one time and said, you know what, this bench over here is looking pretty cool. I'm gonna go ahead and sit on the coach.
But the thing is, they prepped for that by drafting Brooks, so which nobody saw coming. They traded up to draft Jonathan Brooks. So they got the running backs, 3 of them. It's so tough, and I'm sorry, I have to give them. So tough. I see this as a very winnable game for the Raiders, but if you played this game 10 times, I would say, in my personal opinion, Miami wins out 7 times. And for that reason, I have to say, I gotta give it to Miami.
Even coming out of the bye with an extra week to prepare.
You make great points. You really do, and I really love what you said, that they should have beat them last year. That's true, and they got more familiar with AP in the meantime. They got better at both sides of the ball in the meantime.
No Davion Howard, no Christian Wilkins on defense.
Oh, that is a Christian Wilkins game. I didn't even think about that. Man, I want to say Miami's bad. All right. Christian Wilkins revenge game. Christian Wilkins revenge. Good point. I'll give it to him. Just for you.
I don't need you to do it for me. You got to do it for you. If you feel like Miami's still going to win with an extra week to prepare, missing Christian Wilkins and Xavier Howard, and they replace him with OBJ, and that's going to be the ticket, then that's what you believe. Say it with your chest.
It's so winnable for the Raiders, but it's so hard to look at Miami and what they can do. Granted, they haven't even think they can do, but like I just gotta go Miami, man.
Happy ever. Week 12 in Las Vegas. So we will be subjected to the Donkey Show one more time for the second time this year.
Yeah, this is a clean sweep. I mean, I'm sorry. I don't like anything in Denver. Like, I really try to remain unbiased and try to see what the other team's doing in their eyes, see the positive traits. I don't like anything in Denver, not a single thing. Not the coach, not the team. I don't like any of it.
Eight and 4, headed in to Arrowhead Stadium. A prime time Black Friday game.
Oh, man.
At noon, 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, noon Pacific Time. That's an interesting time for a game, because it's not quite regular time for these guys, but later than an East Coast game. Typical East Coast game. Prime time is always an interesting game between these two, but I got a sneaky suspicion that at this particular juncture in week 13, that's going to end up being a loss for the boys.
Yeah, yeah, and I think this is really going to depend on the form that the Chiefs are in. This is kind of where blindly doing this, people. We're not going off of the Chiefs. We're not going super in depth, seeing who the Chiefs are playing, and the Chiefs are going to be a 4-game win streak. We predict that this time they're going to come with all momentum. We're not doing any of that, but I say that to say, if the Chiefs are in good form by now, I don't really see a way the Raiders win one. If they're still up and down, they could take this. They really could. You never know with KC. When it's week 15 and beyond, KC is unbeatable. But other than that,
it really is going to come down to how the Raiders are physically. By about this time of the year, guys are hurt. Last year, the defense played through it and they were good, but the offense was leaking oil, losing steam, and all other types of various forms. And they were cutting in and out. And yeah, they had the big game against the Chargers, but I mean, that's the punk ass Chargers. The game against Kansas City, I remember that they won, and the quarterback only threw completions in the first quarter, and that's just not. They're not going to be able to win another game like that.
Yeah, that's a one in.
So that's where it gets dicey, but I see the Chiefs pulling it out. And we are now at, I believe that is 9-6. 8-6.
That must be. So I'm 6-8.
No, I got. You're 6.
I have 2 losses that you have as win. I think I might have them at 6-8. I thought I had them at 6-7.
You got Cincinnati and Miami as losses on both sides of the bye.
Yeah. Both winnable games. Both very winnable games. If the Raiders come out winning, I'm not gonna say, "Oh my God, I'm shocked," but I just gotta stick to the gut here.
And here's where we see our friends from the South. First up, Raymond James Stadium, 10 a.m. Eastern. Yeah, it's a lot of East Coast games. Start early in the morning. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that's 4 so far. That's 4 East Coast morning games. That's 5 East Coast morning games for the Raiders this year. But Tampa Bay Raiders.
Yeah. So when you say South, they're NFC South. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the NFC South is, I think, what's going to be that division. I think that division might actually be really good in 3-4 years. But for now, it's just not. And this is a catch-up game for sure. This is one Raiders are going to take, and their playoff. In my opinion, their playoff hopes are still alive. They're hanging on by a thread, but I think this is one of. And these situations, the Raiders, with this core, even have been known to string wins together.
Yes, they have, and right the ships. Yep. I believe that this is a game they win as well. Tampa, even with Baker playing his best ball last year, they didn't win very many games. I think that on paper the Raiders are a more talented team and that they should take it. And that brings us to week 15 at home against Atlanta. Let me be honest, and in prime time, and I believe that's the Sunday night game, it's Monday. I believe that the Falcons win this game, and I believe that the Falcons win this game because I think that they are a bad physical matchup for the Raiders. I believe that they are big, strong, and fast, where the Raiders are a tad bit smaller. and that's in the defense. That's in the defensive backfield against their receivers and tight ends, and their running backs can run like the wind. And while the linebacking core is last year we said who are they, and this year it's probably one of the best linebacking cores they've ever had. But Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier, and is Patterson still there?
No, I
Huh?
I think it's,
No. In any case, between Bijan and Tyson Algier, that is a physical freak team, and it's going to be a great test for the defense.
yeah, no, I agree with that. I think that. All right, so I go back to what I said before, that we're blindly doing this. We're not taking into account of other teams' schedules, and there's other factors in that as well. As we don't know, there's first year head coaches like Falcons have, and our opinions are basically they're going to change as we see what coaches do, we see what players are being used for, we see streaks that teams are on, that sort of thing. But none of that exists right now, right? Right now, that's all just poof, gone. It doesn't exist. And that said, for now, at this very moment, I think the Raiders win in this game. I think that I agree with you with the matchup, but I think defensive head coach, Arthur Smith was very weird with how he used these weapons. And I think it's going to be a process because if I'm being honest, there's really no synergy with these weapons, is it? I think it's going to be a process to kind of integrate these guys in a way that they all maximize their strengths and feed off each other. I don't think that's going to be something that a defensive head coach figures out year one or helps figure out. I like I said, I see this division being very good in 3-4 years, not right now. Got the Raiders winning this one.
All right, Duval and boys from Jacksonville.
I got the Raiders winning this one. I got a 3-win streak right now at the end of the year.
3-win streak at the end of the year so far.
Yeah, and I'm really not that high on Jacksonville. Do I think that they're a playoff contender? Absolutely. Do I think that they're a bad team? No, not at all. Do I think Jacksonville is Raiders? I wouldn't be shocked. But I really am not that high on Jacksonville as other people are. Trevor Lawrence has all the arm talent in the world. Still has to put it together. I'm not high on Gabe Davis. He replaces Zay Jones. I guess Brian Thomas replaces Zay Jones. Really, they draft. Who Gabe Davis? Tennessee guy. The other one. Tennessee.
Buffalo Gabe Davis?
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, he's in Jacksonville. He replaced
Zay Jones?
Zay Jones got replaced by Brian Thomas. I'm just not a fan of Jacksonville. I
would say that Brian Thomas was replacing Calvin Ridley more than Zay Jones. I would say Gabe Davis is replacing Zay Jones. They're more of a physical comparison than Brian Thomas and Calvin Ridley.
I think that's 2 downgrades. Two of them that need to be integrated into the system. In fact, it's not that I'm not a fan of them. It's really not. It's more so that I'm not as high on them as other people are. I have the Raiders win this one. They're hot right now. I had them winning the last 2. They continue this momentum.
I have them winning this game too. My biggest question about that, as we now are entering, and I believe this will be year 4 of Trevor Lawrence's career. Who is he?
Guy with a lot of arm.
Rookie year shouldn't be counted because Urban Meyers. Last year they started out hot and just completely fell apart. He's had some injuries. He's looked like he was back at Clemson, and then he's fallen apart. I don't know who he is, and like you said, he hasn't put it together yet. And I think that the defense has improved enough in a way to be able to shut it down. And while he does have some nice weapons to work with, it's going to be a question of what exactly can they do. under Doug Peterson, and how well can he coach up Lawrence, and how well can he get the other guys to play well. I mean, this is also a guy who won the Super Bowl with Nasty Nick and Nick Foles, and had Carson Wentz looking like the second coming of Tom Brady or some shit, while looking like Prince Harry.
I think Doug Peterson is a great coach. Not a good coach, a great coach. Borderline fantastic coach. I really do. I like the Raiders in this one, so I really do.
Moving on. The Superdome, Week 17, prior to New Year's. The Derek Carr revenge game.
And the way that I see that I predicted the schedule to this point, this is the Raiders are hanging on to fight for the playoffs, right? One more loss, they're probably out. It's probably done. They might already be done as is, but they're likely still in it, assuming they went out. And it almost all comes down to this, right? There's one more week after this, but it all comes down to being Derek Carr, the guy who was the quarterback 9 seasons for the Raiders. And you can't really write it any better. Total accident, but I love the way it's coming out. Man.
It also stands to be a flex game.
Oh, it's prime?
No, it stands to be a flex game.
Oh, flex
if they're playing, if they're still relevant by that time, that will be a prime time game.
Yeah. It definitely does, for sure. And Saints might be relevant by that time too, themselves, because Derek Carr was starting to get it going. The whole offense, the whole team was at the end of the year, second half. So yeah, they might both be fighting for playoff position right there. You might be absolutely right, and what a story that would be. As far as who wins it,
I know who Derek Carr is, and I know what his play looks like. And in December, at the end of December, going on January, said it looked like Tony Romo after Thanksgiving. Now he will be G'd up, because he'll want, if he wins no other game this season, he's gonna want to win that one.
Oh yeah.
If he don't win a single game all year long, he's gonna want to win that one. And it's gonna be imperative to the Raiders that they win that one. So we'll see. I have the Raiders winning that game. And that brings us to the Chargers. We started with the Chargers, we end with the Chargers, and we end at home. And hopefully we can say Aiden O'Connell in that cute little 12 jersey like this.
I think I didn't say who I think wins this game. I genuinely think that's as 50-50 as it gets. I'll give the Raiders it. I'm gonna give the Raiders it for they're on a 3-game win streak headed into that. I like them winning that, keep the playoff top 5. Now they're on a 4-game win streak heading into the season, trying to keep their playoff hope alive, which they might not make. I don't know if but I really like this matchup. I am low on the Chargers, man. This point, it almost sounds like Raider bias in the AFC West. I don't like anything Denver's doing. I'm so much lower on the Chargers. And all this time, when Raiders, Jim Harbaugh, I was against it. So you know that. You were against it. So it's not just now he's a Charger and I'm not a fan of the coach. No, it's always, and I'm a Michigan fan again. Big Michigan guy. Never been a fan of him. The offense downgraded in every way. I mean, offensive line got better. It was already pretty good. I don't know, man. I like the Raiders winning that one too.
Greg Roman's a real wild card here. I don't think that he has anything new. And while the Chargers' offensive line is tremendous at this point in the year, the question will be, will they be healthy? And Jim Harbaugh has a tendency to run his line hard, and they've held up throughout every place he's been. So I would normally have no reason to suspect that this wouldn't be any different, but it's the Chargers. And if the Chargers don't do one thing more than not winning any Super Bowls, is taking trips to the injury tent.
That would be a 5-win streak. In my book, that's a 5-win streak to end the season. That's, to be honest, that's almost on par with how the Raiders end season. They're close to 500 halfway through the year. I like that. I don't know if that would happen in the playoffs. I really don't, but I like that.
There it is. So optimistically, we are sniffing the playoffs yet again. If they don't make it, it'll be because they didn't have the quarterback they needed to get them over the hump. If they do make it, AP and Telesco look like geniuses.
Yeah, pretty much.
So Patrick Graham gets a head coaching gig someplace else, and we get a new defensive coordinator and keep rolling.
That would be. I don't know if fans really understand how low that would be, but Patrick Graham is almost single-handedly from they have a defense to they have an offense. You know, like they're completely a defensive team, right? That when you have Devontae Adams, you have Jacoby Myers, you had Josh Jacobs, you have Colton Miller. It says a lot, man. That says a lot when your defense is the unit.
Mm-hmm. It does, but there are players there, and we're going to see what the offense can produce. I'm not going to write them off. Gardner Minshew performs best in a 12 personnel. We've seen what Aiden O'Connell is able to do when you give him a minimal amount of time to make a decision. And I will say the one thing that's probably continued to go under the radar and not be mentioned anywhere near as much as it should be is just how much better this offensive line has gotten from Colton Miller all the way down to the bottom of the depth.
Oh, no, certainly. The draft, man, they were incredible in the draft.
And the guys they brought in free agency. It's been a complete upgrade and overhaul. They brought in Craig from the Niners offensive line and Joe Philbin from Dallas's offensive line. And so they didn't just bring in talent, but they brought in guys to coach talent, to develop it. They're returning Munford. They're returning Parham. You got James. You've got JPJ. You've got Colton Miller. You are looking at a bigger, faster, stronger offensive line, especially with Dylan Parham presumably going back to the right side where he belongs.
Yeah, for sure. And you look, they lost 2 starters. And I'm pretty sure that includes the starter, slot corner, slot receiver. Hunter Renfrow was already replaced for Trey Tucker in the slot, so they didn't even lose the starter there. I mean, all their special teamers who are starters, gunner, kicker, punter, long snapper, they don't lose any of them. They only lost their right tackle and right guard. That's it. And you can argue that they upgraded both of them. You really can. You know, the right guard's going to be a rookie. Hell, the right tackle might be a rookie. So it's hard to say the rookie's an auto upgrade, but I would assume so.
Yeah, for sure. And that brings us to the OTAs. And you hear a lot of stuff coming out, and it's nice to see the pictures, the guys going through drills. Let's pump the brakes on comparing Dylan Lobby to Christian McCaffrey, because he looked like he looked pretty good taking a handoff with no defense at 60% speed.
They're not the same player. They're just not. Christian McCaffrey, it's important to understand that what Christian McCaffrey is, obviously after Christian McCaffrey is established himself as who he is, any player like him, their stock would skyrocket. Christian McCaffrey was already a first-round pick before the league was like, holy shit, a Christian McCaffrey type is amazing. They're not even close to the same type of run. That's the big thing. They're completely different runners. Christian McCaffrey's dynamic. Bobby just isn't. Great hands, and he's probably going to play a lot of slot receiver. But the thing is, if you play Christian McCaffrey, mostly slot receiver, you are wasting his talents at running back. You are not wasting Bobby's talent at running back. You're just not. They're very different there.
It's just not even the same ballpark, so I can't even dignify that with a response. I just happened to see it, and I thought that was ludicrous, but it is what it is. I didn't make that comparison. Somebody else did. But it's good to see the guys getting out there. Let's not make too much of a big deal about who is and who isn't at OTAs that aren't mandatory. Guys are out. Guys are out and about. From everything that you've heard in the off season, everybody's bought into the program. Everybody's around the facility. If they're not there in the building during practice or doing different things, getting treatment in different areas. It's a big facility. There's a lot going on. Everybody's locked in. They know what they want to do.
Yeah,
They know what they're trying to do, and they know what they need to do to get there.
Yeah, everybody's definitely. You're absolutely right. It all starts with Antonio Pierce. He's just a player's coach, and everybody just gravitates towards him, what he says. And you got guys like Max Crosby, who are basically that, but as a player on the field. You got a guy like Malcolm Patrick Graham said has been mentoring the young guys, taking the initiative, and trying to get them into the system. You love to see that from a guy like on a contract year too. It's probably going to cost a pretty penny around, but by all means, it looks like Kuntz loves being a Raider, and Patrick Graham loves Malcolm Kuntz, so he'll probably stick around. And that's the kind of things we're seeing from Kuntz, that he's being a leader now. I mean, man, there's a lot.
June 1st is swiftly approaching, and that is going to be a big day in which Jimmy's contract comes off the books, and the Raiders should have just south of $50 million in cap space, and that's when you will probably see the next series of big moves as teams shed that excess financial weight.
Yep,
go ahead.
Absolutely.
And so keep an eye on corners, maybe some more defensive line help. There's still not too many quarterbacks out there that really pick up. So, I mean, in terms of quarterback, you got what you got pretty much. Maybe a deal gets swung, and this is strictly spitball, and I'm not saying anything for sure, but that's pretty much where we are right now. And I'm not going to overstate anything because nothing's happening. There's no pads on this. Not training camp. Guys are trying to get installed, learn the offense, learn the defense, figure out where they're supposed to be, and learn each other.
Yeah. No, on the head. Don't put too much. But at the same time, the thing with OTAs is if something doesn't happen where it's all unicorn and rainbows, don't think about it too much. But because you don't have to think about it too much, if somebody's taking the initiative to do something great, like Kuntz mentoring teammates, like Jacorian Bennett studying his ass off and making sure he doesn't repeat his rookie woes, those are things that are just absolutely you love to see, because OTAs are just optional, obviously. And you love to see guys taking that initiative.
No, for sure. A lot of work to be done. Rome's not going to be built in a day, and now that there's football, we have more reason to be on, and with a little bit more frequency than once every month.
Hey, we got to do at least 1.5. Extend one show, 1/2 of the month, and the next half of the month, then do a full show. We got to do at least 1.5. Man. We got to step up. Somewhere comfortably in between. You got anything else you want to tell these good folks before we get out of here? Anything to plug? No. Thank you. I'm Phil. He's Alex. This is the AP Cast. Thank you. God bless. Please like, subscribe. And till next time, we are out.